Alrighty, we're back. No more awake than I was before. Um, it's been 4 hours since I was last on here, and we did 2 pages. So let's pick up from page 3. So I'm going to zip down to the end. Oh, good. Page 9 is not a whole page. Fantastic. So, a little over 5 pages to go. Page 3. Yay. Alright. Thanks all for joining me. If you're watching this in post, fuck you. Like, where the hell were you when I was live? No, I appreciate every little bit of attention I can get, since that's our attention is our primary commodity and value in this day and age. Well, I mean, unless your name is Patrick, then you just suck, and you know it. Alright. Of course I'm scared. Look at the situation I'm in, but I'm willing to listen and hear your story and maybe understand you better. Yeah, that's a little bit therapist-ish. Therapist-ish? Therapist-ish-ish. Borderline TED Talk. Alright. And he already said, like, what is it? Wait, is that page 4? Yeah, that's page 4. I skipped a page. Alright. Alright. Like my father says, without trust there is no relationship. If you want love, especially true love, you'll have to trust someone, and I'm the only one here. Her breath came in sharp and damp, shuddering waves. I almost said sharp, shuddering waves. Maybe I want sharp. Yeah. That's what I almost said, and that's probably what I actually want. Breath came in sharp, shuddering waves, salt, guilt, and heartache. For a moment she only stared, him upside down and her impossibly vulnerable. As if trying to read the intent of his words in the wrinkles on his beet-red brow. She lowered him an inch as she turned away in contemplation. Not mercy, uncertainty. Bam. And consideration. Trust, she repeated, the word warping in her throat, like something bitter she'd been forced to swallow. Do you have any notion how much trust has cost me? Another tentacle struck the cavern wall with a crack that sent bones skittering. It cost me pain, she hissed. Another whip of movement, shells scattered across stone. Betrayal. The glowing pools rippled violently as her limbs dragged through them. My home. Her voice splintered like fractured coral. My crown, my future, my siblings, myself. She dragged him closer, not roughly now, but with a trembling restraint. He hung inches from her altered face, close enough to feel the cool mist of her breath. She pulled him closer, not roughly now, but with a trembling restraint. He hung inches from her altered face. Altered isn't really the right word. close enough to feel the mist of her breath and smell the faint, lingering hint of hibiscus. From her altered face, from her what face? I do need a descriptor there, but alter isn't right. Thorny face, bestial face, primordial face, brow-crowned, fanged face. Frightening yet familiar face. Otherworldly yet familiar face, close enough to feel the mist of her breath and smell the faint lingering hint of hibiscus. She whispered in his ear, and for the first time the great cavern seemed too small for her grief. Not my own kind, not my own family. I've been attacked, hunted, stolen from, even here, in my own cave, my own prison. Her voice cracked on the last word. Garrett's heart thudded painfully. Upside down, dizzy, half-strangled, and staring into the monstrous beauty of her shadowed form. He'd never pitied anyone more. As if trying to reach her. His heart thudded painfully. As if trying to reach for her, as if trying to reach her. As if trying to reach for her, upside down, dizzy, half-strangled. See if I know how to spell this word. Half nauseous? I do not. Like nauseous. Nauseous. Aha. There was an O. Garrett's heart thudded painfully as if trying to reach for her, upside down, dizzy, half nauseous, and staring into the monstrous beauty of her shadowed form. Her monstrous beauty. monstrous, awful beauty. He never pitied anyone more. Arista, his voice was soft but steady. Again, it goes into that soft but steady again. Arista, his voice was soft but steady. As he raised a hand to touch her cheek. Let me be the first one who doesn't take anything from you. Let me be the one who doesn't take anything from you. Let me be the one who doesn't take anything from you. I don't like that. I don't like that line. His voice was soft as he raised a hand to touch her cheek. Is this too campy? You're the only treasure I want. Her pupils widened. Fear or hope, he couldn't tell. Every tentacle around him tensed. The entire mass of her awful, every tentacle around him tensed. The entire mass Every tentacle around him tensed. What would that mean? What would a tense tentacle look like? Unfurled. The entire mass of her awful ancient body coiling like a creature ready to either crush or collapse. Entire mass of her coiling. Rearing like a creature ready to either crush or collapse. Her pupils widened. Fear or hope, he couldn't tell. Every tentacle around him unfurled. The entire mass of her rearing back, rearing back like it was ready to either crush or collapse. He continued slowly, each word measured like an offering. Her pupils widened. Fear or hope, he couldn't tell. Every tentacle around him unfurled. The entire mass of her rearing back like it was ready to either crush or collapse. He continued slowly, each word measured like an offering. That's very close to purple prose right there. We don't want the purple prose. He continued. He continued slowly, each word measured with gentle care. You say trust cost you everything, but you're still here. Alive, waiting, wanting something better than pain. That means trust didn't break you. He swallowed. It just hurt. I'm sorry for that. The first time since she seized him, the pressure around his ankle loosened. Well, that's not true. Because I have her loosening her grip a little bit before, too, so I can't say that. Pressure around his ankle loosened. She whispered, You don't understand. You don't understand. I destroyed everything I loved. Fuck you, co-pilot. You don't understand. I destroyed everything I loved. Everyone I loved. I destroyed everything. Everyone. I drove them away with my pride, my power, my temper. They were right to fear me. Her voice dipped, small and bare, and you will too. Despise me. voice dipped small and bare, and you will too. Garrett reached downward, brushing the slick tentacle holding him. His fingertips shook, but he touched her anyways. Pardon me. I'm scared. But just look at the situation I'm in. But I'm willing to listen, to hear your story, and maybe understand you better. We're both scared. But just look at the situation. We're in. It's strange. But I'm willing to listen, to hear your story, and maybe understand you better. And to try to understand you better. Okay. Control C. McAfee, you can go away. Open up my novel critique chat on ChatGPT again. Fuck me. Look at the stock market and see how much money I'm losing today. Holy good goddamn fuck. Shit. That's annoying. All right. Ooh. Control C. How does this pass / section look so far? What could be improved for pacing, flow? Looking for teachable edits. I think the nice thing about using ChatGPT is I can keep slogging away. Again, there's that word again. Loving slogging. I can keep slogging away at it, and boom. Even when I'm not in the mood, it can still kind of steer me in the right direction to at least get something passable. Like right now, I should just be buzzing through the whole thing, looking for repetitions and trying to vary up speech a little bit, but I keep tackling the whole thing at one time. Like I'm roughening Garrett's speech, I'm looking for repetitions, I'm tightening Arista's monologues and polishing up her backstory, about to get into her backstory, and checking the physical positioning all simultaneously. This is already emotionally strong and dramatically clear. What you're asking for now, pacing and flow with teachable edits, is exactly the right focus at this stage, so I'll do that in 3 layers. High-level pacing principles, what to watch for, line-level teachable edits with why, not just what, and 3, a lightly tightened sample pass so you can tell the difference. I won't rewrite it wholesale, I'll just show you how to shape it. Big picture pacing notes. You alternate dialogue, physical reaction, and emotional escalation, which is correct. You use short lines for impact, betrayal, my home, which works very well. Arista's grief is active, not static, and moves the environment. Where pacing slow, some sentences are doing 2 jobs, action and interpretation. A few beats repeat the same emotional state, distrust, pain, self-blame without forward motion. Garrett occasionally explains what the reader already feels. Your goal now is not less emotion, but sharper beats. Teachable line-by-line edits with reasoning. Original, Garrett laughed, then silent, at the severity of her look, when she sharply turned him back around. The sentence stumbles because it stacks actions without clear transitions. Teachable fix. Garrett laughed, then fell silent at the severity of her look as she sharply turned him back around, pulling his face near hers. M dashes mirrors the emotional snap. Fell silent is cleaner than silenced. Fewer clauses, smoother flow. Let dialogue carry more weight. Trim an explanation. The tentacle holding him quivered, not with anger now, but frustration. The tentacle holding him quivered. That makes sense. Boom. No. Boom. Fix a comma splice and modern phrasing. She brought him near to her face, eyes widening in suspicion. He'll say anything. This is grammatically awkward. She brought him near her face, eyes narrowing in suspicion. Ah. Action and speech no flow as one beats. She brought him near her face. Boom. And boom. Like my father says, this risks sounding casual, modern, in a mythic scene. My father used to say, without trust there is no relationship. Grounds the line in memory, keeps the tone timeless. Father used to say, one sentence doing too much emotional math, as if trying to read the intent of his words in the wrinkles on his beet-red brow. As if trying to read the truth of his words in his flushed, strained face. Same meaning, cleaner image, faster read. Nah, fuck that. Excellent use of repetition, just sharpen it. This section is very strong. It cost me pain, betrayal, my home, my crown, my future, my siblings, myself. Consider dropping my future or myself. Just take all of that out and say my destiny. Minor phrasing cleanup. The entire mass of her rearing back. Her entire mass reared back. I like that better, I do. Control-C. Typo. The Copilot, get off of that. Don't understand. Last paragraph. Great emotion, slightly long. To hear your story, to try to understand you better. To hear your story, to understand you. Lightly tighten sample. Here's just one short stretch tighten so you can feel the pacing shift. No. Final guidance as you keep editing this chapter. Ask yourself line by line, is the sentence advancing the story or reinforcing the feelings already established? If it advances, keep it. If it reinforces, shorten the cut. You're no longer drafting, you're sculpting. If you want next, I can do a full rhythm pass on the confrontation or help you tune Arista's voice consistently across the chapter. You're very close to a publishable quality emotional scene here. That's what we're going for. All right. Who that? Where you going? What's you doing? Ah, you're fine. Okay. We're both scared. Just look at the situation we're in. It's strange, but I'm willing to listen, to hear your story, to understand you. I see what you're doing, bud. Okay. Her breath hitched, an unmistakably human sound forced through something inhuman. Her breath hitched, an unmistakably human sound forced through something inhuman. Despite her monstrous appearance. Garrett, she whispered, voice thinning. Pulling away from his touch and inadvertently raising him higher. Don't look at me. Don't lie to me. I couldn't take that from you. Fine, he shrugged. Fine, he sighed. I won't talk then. I'll try not to stare, but to me, you're still beautiful. Frightening, yes. No matter what shape you take, it's still beautiful. Just tell me your story and I'll listen. Except, he added as his face turned a darker shade of red. started turning purple. Could you put me down first? And into his dangled leg. Then slowly, almost reluctantly, the tentacle uncoiled. Garrett dropped only a short distance before another limb caught him, lowering him the rest of the way with unexpected care. Considerable care. His bare feet touched the warm stone. She recoiled instantly to the far edges of the cavern, limbs dragging in agitation as if ashamed she touched him at all. How's this pass? Where can I polish? Making a transition here. Want to nail it. Control V. This pass is working. Emotionally, the transition lands. We move from confrontation, vulnerability, consent, physical de-escalation. That's exactly the right arc. What you're feeling as not nailed isn't structural. It's sentence weight and tonal balance. A few lines are doing just a little too much, which softens the impact of the turn. Yeah. I'll walk through polish points in order with why, and then give you a tightened example transition so you can feel the difference. First sentence, strong image, slightly overpacked. Garrett reached downward, brushing the proud cheekbones he had kissed so many times, down to the sharp jaw that uttered sharper words as flirtations. This is evocative, but it stacks memory and metaphor and commentary all at once. Polish options. Choose one direction. Option A, keep lyricism, simplify metaphor. Garrett reached downward, brushing the proud cheekbones he had kissed so many times, then the sharp line of her jaw. Keep the metaphor, trim the memory. Garrett reached downward, brushing her proud cheekbones, then the sharp jaw that so often turned cruelty into flirtation. I think the first one is the better option because I don't really have cruelty as flirtation take part in the story too much just yet. That's coming up more later. We're both scared line. Good sentiment, slightly explanatory. We're both scared, but just look at the situation we're in. It's strange, but I'm willing to listen. I hear your story to understand you. We're both scared, he said quietly, but I'm here. I'm willing to listen to hear your story to understand you. Just look at the situation tells the reader what they already feel. Shortening increases emotional gravity. Okay. Yeah, that is expository. Boom. Arista's response, very strong. One small clarity tweak. Garrett, she whispered, voice thinning, pulling away from his touch and inadvertently raising him higher. The participle chain, pulling, raising, slightly muddles the physical action. Garrett, she whispered, her voice thinning as she pulled away from his touch, unwittingly lifting him higher. And, yeah, I'm getting rid of and that's good. Garrett's humor beat. Good, just trim one clause. The beat is necessary. It releases tension and makes him human. Just tighten. I won't talk then. I'll try not to stare, but to me you're still beautiful. Frightening, yes, no matter what shape you take, but still beautiful. I won't talk then. I'll try not to stare, but to me you're still beautiful. Frightening, yes, no matter what shape you take, but beautiful. Fewer pauses, smoother flow. Okay. Just tell me your story and I'll listen. The put me down joke, almost perfect, except, okay. Except he added as his face started turning purple, could you put me down first? Except he added, turning purple risks slapstick, darkening keeps it grounded. I don't like dark, I got too many darkenings. So we're going to skip that one. The release moment, very good, one rhythm tweak. A moment passed, and he felt a slight shudder run through her and into his dangled leg. A moment passed, a slight shudder ran through her and into the limb holding. Yeah, well, I went comic word to comic word, so we're in a comedy beat there. The landing, recoil strong, just one cut. Lowering him the rest of the way with considerable care. Considerable is doing work the scene already does. Lowering him the rest of the way with care. Lowering him the rest of the way. Okay. Hey, what's up, Drowning Devil? How you doing? Then, almost reluctantly, the tentacle uncoiled. Garrett dropped only a short distance before another limb caught him. What's the last place I used limb? Awesome. What are you working on? What genre? What am I working on? Well, that Jinx. I'm doing a romantasy novella right now. I got the draft all finished. I'm just going through. I'm trying to do the editing and tighten everything up. So it's been going slow. It's slower and slower. The more I work on the editing, the slower the process is going, which is telling me my early stuff I probably got through too quickly. So I get to go through the first 7 chapters all over again. Romantasy. It's a popular genre right now. I saw a blurb like a month ago about how it's the top selling genre, and it kind of reminded me of this story I've had in the back of my head for, I don't know, about a year now. So I decided to finally put it down. And Novella is nice and short. I'm going for around 40,000 words. Typically I write stuff that's way too long and then I never get them done. I've only ever finished one book before, and honestly, I did not do a good job editing it and cleaning it up. I'm a little embarrassed by it. It's published, but it's not It's not good. It's too campy, too cheesy. Trying to do something better this time around. A moment passed, he felt a slight shudder run through her and into his dangled leg. Sweet, so I don't have limb being repeated too much. Well, why is that wrong now? Sure, that's better. Well, keep at it. Keep practicing. Every single thing that you write, every time you sit down and put pen to paper or, you know, spill your guts onto a page, that's practice. You are building up to something. So keep going. One thing I would suggest if you actually want to try and finish something is maybe copy what I'm doing here, where I limit my characters. I've only got 2 throughout the entire story. And keep your environment small, keep things contained, and try to limit your words. So you can actually like say you've got a finished project and then build from there. Because first project, way too many characters, way too many talking heads where I jump perspectives around and it's hard to keep direction clear. My latest book that I was doing before this, I hit a point where I just had way too many characters in a scene and I was bogging it down. So yeah, start small and build from there. Like you get wins from wins. Fine, he sighed. I won't talk then. I'll try not to stare, but to me you're still beautiful. Frightening, yes, no matter what shape you take, but beautiful. Just tell me your story and I'll listen. Except, he added as his face started turning purple, could you put me down first? Maybe I want please. Could you put me down, please? For please. Please. Yeah. That's that feature creep. Yeah. It's also the intoxication of novelty. I run into that a lot myself, where you're working on something and then you will sabotage yourself by coming up with a whole new idea, and that new idea is appealing because it's novel. It's clearly novel, but it's it's that newness. You get that little high, that little intoxication off the new ideas and stuff. And the old ones start to feel like work. But it's good to finish what you start. That's what I'm really trying to focus on with this one. I'm doing the live streaming, the twitching on this, because in order to really get a proper read and figure out flow, it's better to read it out loud, and I feel like an idiot sitting and reading it out loud to myself. And normally I would either read it to my wife or to my mom, but being that it's a romance and there are some steamy scenes, I don't want to read this to my mother. And the wife is really tired of listening to me work on stories that I never finish. So I've kind of lost my my normal audience for projects like this, hence live streaming it. A moment passed. He felt a slight shudder run through her into his dangled leg. Then, almost reluctantly, the tentacles uncoiled. Garrett dropped only a short distance before another limb caught him, lowering him the rest of the way with care. His bare feet touched the warm stone. She recoiled instantly to the far edges of the cavern, limbs dragging in agitation, as if ashamed she touched him at all. Yeah. Her voice drifted from the darkness. I'll tell you, she said, but you must stay where you are. If you come closer, I'll break. And if you try to run, a tremor shook the cavern. I might shatter. Garrett steadied himself, heart hammering, and nodded into the shadows. I'm listening, he said as he sat on the ledge of a raised pool. And massaged his tender ankle. A hiss of breath, like a sigh she'd been holding far too long. It's my waiting to exhale moment. Good, because everything that happened to me, her voice wavered, then hardened like cooled glass. Everything I am is my own fault. Arista began slow and quiet, though her voice carried over the cavern and resonated off the walls. Arista began slow. That's an overused word. Slow and quiet. What if I just said hesitantly? Have I used hesitantly, reluctantly? Yeah, if it's you put me down, moment passed, like shudder, almost reluctantly, the tentacle uncoiled, and steady. Okay. Trying to make sure I get that word variety, because you know that tendency that we have as writers, as people, where we'll lock onto a word and then just keep using that word over and over and over again. It's just mental laziness, like neural pathways get carved in. So I'm trying to correct that stuff. I mean, what I should be doing is checking for my repetitions, roughening one of my character's speeches, tightening monologues, and polishing the backstory that I'm about to get into, and then checking the physical position to make sure that the geography of the scene stays consistent. And I should be doing like one separate pass for each one, but I just have a tendency of wanting to hit everything simultaneously. And then I use ChatGPT on my other monitor in order to like catch me on stuff and let me know how things are going. So I use that for a lot of my own personal edification quite a bit. Good, because everything that happened to me, her voice wavered, then hardened like cooled glass. Do I like that simile? Her voice wavered, then hardened like cooled glass. Do I need to say cooled glass? Her voice wavered, then hardened like cooled glass, like cooling glass. No. Her voice wavered, then hardened like glass. Yeah, I can get rid of the word cooled. I'm also trying to watch my word count on this. I want my chapters to be between 2,500 and 3,000 words. And right now I'm at, with that deletion, 3,024 words. So I can definitely stand to get rid of some stuff. Arista began hesitantly, though her voice carried over the cavern and resonated off the walls. Again, Garrett felt like he was surrounded by her, though she had retreated to a far wall. Wall and walls. That's on the same line, too. So where can I cut? Arista began hesitantly, though her voice carried over the cavern and resonated off the walls. Okay, so I can get rid of though, because that's just a connection. Bridging two thoughts together, that'll give me a little bit of space and a breath. Arista began hesitantly. Her voice carried over the cavern. Do I even need the off the walls? Do I even need to say off the walls? Arista began hesitantly. Her voice carried over the cavern. I do not. I don't need those words at all. That's 3 I can remove right there. So that's 4 words out of this sentence. That's winning. All right. Arista began hesitantly. Her voice carried over the cavern and resonated. Do I need and resonated? Her voice carried over the cavern. Yeah. And it's always good to get rid of ands. And is one of those words that it's so easy to throw in way too much, like and the. And then I should really go through and like check the beginning of each of my paragraphs to make sure I'm not like repeating. Let's see. We're, her, Garrett, fine, a, then, her and her. Her voice drifted from the darkness, her breath hitched. Her voice, I'll, Garrett, I'm, a, good, Arista, I. So I've got I twice, her twice, Garrett twice. It's not a lot of variety to my paragraphs. I'm listening, he said, as he sat on the ledge of a raised pool and massaged his tender ankle. A and A, that's another repetition. There was a hiss of breath like a sigh she'd been holding for too long. Good, because everything that happened to me, her voice wavered, then hardened like glass. Everything I am is my own fault. Arista began hesitantly, her voice carried over the cavern. Okay. Again, Garrett felt like he was surrounded by her, though she had retreated to a far wall as if attempting to shrink her massive size down. Massive size, as if attempting to shrink. Her tentacles coiled tighter around her until only the silhouette that remained was her small, feminine figure, so that at Garrett's distance, she was the shadow of a girl he longed to touch. So let's change that. That's awkward. From Garrett's perspective. Yeah. So it's all about perspective in these emotional moments here. Perspective. She was the shadow of a girl he longed to touch. And let's make it a little less creepy and say woman. Shadow of a woman he longed to touch. Okay. So I'm going to do a quick ChatGPT check on these first 4 pages because I finally got to the point where she reveals her backstory. And that's where I'm going to need to do like some high level of flourish and finessing and figuring. So ChatGPT, how are the first 4 pages looking? What should I consider for edits to make this publishable? About to get into character backstory. Want to be set up to this point. Provide ample space before I plug it in. Bam. Giggity. See what it says. Chat's getting long, so responses are getting slower. Short answer first. This is strong, coherent, and emotionally compelling. You are already well past rough draft territory. What you're asking for now is the kind of tightening that moves a scene from very good to publishable, and that's mostly about control, not invention. I'll break this into what's working, the main risks before backstory, and concrete, teachable edit priorities you can apply line by line as you revise. What's working exceptionally well? Emotional escalation is clear and earned. The arc is clean. Volatile threat, stalemate, vulnerability, conditional trust, invitation to backstory. Nothing feels rushed or unmotivated. Editors care deeply about this. Physical choreography is readable. Despite tentacles, inversion, distance, shadow, and movement, the reader always knows where Garrett is, who has control. When that control softens, that's harder than it looks, and you're doing it well. Dialogue carries the scene. You're not dumping emotion into narration, it's performed. Arista's fragmentation, pain, betrayal, etc. is effective and character consistent. Transition into backstory is earned. Everything ending on, everything I am is my own fault is a strong hook, not an exposition trap. This is exactly where a backstory should begin. The main risks before entering the backstory. These are things that could weaken the chapter if left unchecked. Emotional saturation. The scene runs hot for a long time. That's not wrong, but without restraint, intensity starts to blur. Redundant phrasing of fear, trust, and pain. You say these ideas beautifully, but sometimes more than once in slightly different clothes. I'm going to get that on the final revision. Occasional overwriting in connective tissue. Your big moments are strong. The sentences between them sometimes carry extra weight they don't need. None of these are structural problems. They're polish issues. Edit priorities to make this publishable. Tighten between beats, not the beats themselves. Your instincts may be to cut emotional lines. Don't. Instead, trim setup and aftermath. Example. Her expression flickered with every heartbeat. Fear at his nearness. Disgust at herself. Mistrust sharpening into anger and back again. This is good, but slightly long for an opening beat. Possible polish. Her expression flickered. Fear at his nearness. Disgust at herself. Mistrust sharpening into anger. Damn it, that is better. Her expression flickered. See, we got rid of with every heartbeat. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see what we got rid of. Okay. That's a good change. That's a good change. Boom, her expression flickered, fear at his nearness, disgust at herself, mistrust sharpening into anger. She looked torn apart by her own conflicting instincts. Yeah. Watch repetition of emotional verbs and structures. You favor well the following patterns. Voice cracked, splintered, wavered, tentacle struck, lashed, whipped. Fear, trust, pain, betrayal. Lists broken into single-line fragments. These are effective, but editors notice frequency, not quality. Rule of thumb for this chapter. If an image or structure appears 3 times, cut or bury the 4th. For example, the fragment list, pain, betrayal, my home, works perfectly once. Later switch to a sentence or a metaphor instead. Reduce adverbs and explanatory clauses during high tension. You sometimes explain what the reader already feels. As if she wanted to tear the world apart. More limbs writhe through the darkness behind her, not striking but thrashing at the air. Trust the image. Okay, but I like the as if she wanted to tear the world apart. I like that, so I'm keeping that. Clarify pronoun and action flow in dense moments. You're mostly clear, but in a publishable pass, even small ambiguities get flagged. Example, she said somewhere between a pout and a growl. She said, her voice caught between a pout and she said... Okay. I mean, it's called me out on this line before. It says that it's too cute, but now it's telling me, like, work on the pacing. She said, her voice caught between a pout and a growl. She said somewhere between a pout and a growl. That could actually help with spacing and length a little bit. I like that. Pivoting him away again as shy guilt flooded her face. Yeah, it works. One important tonal adjustment before backstory. Right before Arista begins her history, you have this. Again, Garrett felt like he was surrounded by her, so that from Garrett's perspective, she was a shadow of a woman he longed to touch. This is beautiful, but it leans romantic at the exact moment where you're about to shift into guilt and self-condemnation. Consider cooling the sensuality slightly here so the backstory lands with gravity. Ooh. I do like that. The shadow of a woman he longed to touch and feared he never truly had. God damn it, I hate it when they come up with good suggestions like that. That's yeah. Feared. What if I change feared to suspected? So that from Garrett's perspective, she was the shadow of a woman he longed to touch and feared he never truly had. And wondered if he ever truly had. Ooh. Wondered if he ever truly had. Oh, that tugs at my heartstrings. That works. Backstory setup, you're in the right place. Ending the section with everything I am is my own fault. It's exactly right. 2 guardrails for the backstory. Let her interpret events incorrectly if needed. Don't correct her yet. Keep Garrett mostly silent during the first pass. Listening is his arc here. You can do these 2 things. The emotional authority of the scene will carry straight through her history. Bottom line, this chapter is structurally sound, emotionally grounded, tonally consistent, ready for a line-level tightening pass, not a rewrite. If this landed on an editor's desk, the feedback would not be fix the scene. It would be trimmed 10 to 15%, watch repetition, and trust your strongest images. Yeah. If you want, I can do a true published pass, cut suggestions only, no rewrites, or help you shape Arista's backstory so it doesn't stall momentum. You've earned the next step. Alrighty. Alright. Fuck. Oh, this section. This is a section that I want to fine-tune and add flourishes to, but I'm trying to add flourishes and details to something while cutting words. So this is going to be a tightrope moment. So Drowning Devil 12. That's pretty funny. I'm actually calling the series that I'm working on Drowning. That's the because I plan on doing like I got 2 more book ideas after this one, and Drowning is like the entire arc. That's the whole storyline. I am the firstborn of a sea king, and my mother a sorceress of wide renown. I am the firstborn of a sea king, and my mother a sorceress of wide renown. From the moment I drew breath, they told me I was destined for greatness, that I would be powerful beyond measure, gifted by royal blood and divine magic alike. My mother whispered that someday the sea itself would bend to my will, and my father boasted about the vast kingdom I was meant to inherit. She paused, exhaling through sharp, trembling teeth. Well, okay, Garrett's not gonna... He's not gonna see that. And if we're doing things from his perspective, because she's in shadow, she's slunk off, so she's just a silhouette right now. It would be awesome if this ever becomes like a Netflix thing or Amazon Prime like show to actually like have her tentacles like take the shapes and like tell the stories like a shadow wall sort of thing. That's the trick now. You got to write everything so it's slightly cinematic, so this can get turned into a Netflix thing. I am the firstborn of a sea king, and my mother a sorceress of wide renown. From the moment I drew breath, they told me I was destined for greatness, that I would be powerful beyond measure, gifted by royal blood and divine magic alike. My mother whispered that someday the sea itself would bend to my will, and my father boasted about the vast kingdom I was meant to inherit. And this is where I want to interject real mythology. So I want to borrow from the Book of Enoch. I love borrowing from the Book of Enoch. And there's a story in there where when the 200 lions, the angels came down and had children by human women. Some of those women were thrown into the sea and became some of the first mermaids. So I'd like to borrow from that myth. And I think there's the Philistine god Marduk. I know there's a half merman or a merman type deity that's also supposed to be a god of fertility. I don't remember if it's the Canaanites or the Philistines or... So yeah, I gotta check my mythology. I got ChatGPT up, so let's see. Is Marduk or Marduk the fish god of fertility? Short answer, Marduk is not a fish god of fertility. Who Marduk actually is Mesopotamian Babylonian god, best known for storm and warrior god, creator deity, patron god of Babylon, the slayer of Tiamat, the primordial chaos dragon, in the Enuma Elish. After defeating Tiamat, Marduk became king of the gods, establishing cosmic order like balance. Dagon. Where the confusion comes from. You're likely thinking of one of these instead. Dagon. Yeah. Often debatably linked to fish imagery associated with fertility, grain, and abundance, worshipped in parts of Mesopotamia and Levant. Scholars argue Dagon was more of a grain god than a literal fish god, but later traditions leaned fishward. Enki, god of freshwater, Apsu, wisdom, magic, and creation, tied strongly to fertility, life, and humanity, frequently depicted with flowing water and fish symbols, much closer to the fish-adjacent fertility god than Marduk. Enki is actually Marduk's father in Babylonian mythology. If this question is for your story or symbolism, tell me what role you want the deity to fill: fertility, seduction, imprisonment, monstrous beauty, and I can help you choose or deliberately remix the mythic lineage in a way that feels intentional rather than accidental. Okay. Trying to use mythology as a historical basis for Arista's lineage. Misspelled lineage. Lula, stop. You don't need to do that. Trying to use mythology as a historical case for Arista's lineage. Looking for a merman-like deity to be her father, and thinking of tying her mother to the Book of Enoch and the origins of mermaids, comma, without adding too many words, since word count is already a little too high in this chapter. Right now it's just too glib. I'm way too general. Father Enki, Ea, by epithet, not lecture. If Arista is divine or semi-divine father, Enki is the strongest possible choice. Why Enki works perfectly. God of fresh water, the deep, fertility, and wisdom. Protector of humanity, breaker of divine tyranny. Associated with fish, serpents, and liminal creatures, father to many strange or hybrid beings. Frequently disobeys higher gods out of compassion. Crucially, Enki is the enemy of cosmic cruelty, not a brute conqueror like Marduk that aligns with Arista's loneliness, exile, and moral ambiguity. How to reference him without exposition. You don't say Enki, god of. You let Arista say something like, my father ruled the sweet waters beneath the world. Ooh. This is a good instinct. You're already circling the right mythic strata. The trick, given your word count constraint, is to choose a lineage that carries meaning by implication, not exposition. You want names that do narrative labor without explanation. Here's a clean, historically grounded solution that fits Arista almost too well and lets you gesture at Enoch without stopping the story. Because I really like referencing the Book of Enoch, pre-Diluvian life. Like my main series of books that I'm working on, what I consider to be my magnum opus, like the great work of my life, is taking the Nephilim myth and combining that with elves. And so my normal protagonist that I write about is a high elf who has been kicked out by his society. And here I'm kind of mirroring that a little bit with a mermaid who has been cast out and is cursed to live on this remote desert island that moves across the waters, so it's never in the same location twice. And she can only get off of the island when true love breaks the curse. But she's selfish and primal and kind of mean. So, like, she's a total sea witch bitch, you know? So this kind of works. Father Enki, who's like, yeah, a protector of humanity, and his daughter, yeah, this seems earned. Okay, so Father Enki, Ea, by epithet, not lecture. If Arista has divine or semi-divine father, Enki is the strongest possible choice. Why Enki works perfectly. God of fresh water, the deep, fertility, and wisdom. Protector of humanity, breaker of divine tyranny. Associated with fish, serpents, and liminal creatures. Father to many strange or hybrid beings. Frequently disobeys higher gods out of compassion. Crucially, Enki is the enemy of cosmic cruelty, not a brute conqueror like Marduk, and that aligns with Arista's loneliness, exile, and moral ambiguity. How to reference him without exposition. You let Arista say, my father ruled the sweet water beneath the world. He taught me how to listen to stone, how to bind wounds with words, how to survive gods who call themselves righteous. The single line signals water god, wisdom, benevolence, and ancient pedigree. Anyone myth literate gets it. Everyone else just feels the weight. I just pop that in. My father ruled the sweet waters beneath the world. He taught me how to listen to stone, how to bind wounds with words. Boom. My father ruled the sweet waters beneath the world. He taught me how to listen to stone. How to bind wounds with a touch. He taught me how to listen how to survive gods who call themselves righteous. Mother, a watcher. Okay. So this is suggesting I bring up flood reference. So I need to bring in a little note. If anything, this all happens before the flood, during the days of Noah. That's where I like to write. That puts this in the world and timeline with my other characters like Jost. I'm thinking Arista's mother is not a watcher, but one of the women seduced by them, who was turned into a mermaid as a consequence. That actually tightens your mythology instead of complicating it, and it fits exceptionally well with the tone you're already writing in. You're landing in a very strong, very Enochian space here. Let's lock it in cleanly and keep it lean. Timeline: Days of Noah, pre-flood, excellent choice. Placing Arista before the flood immediately does three important things. Unifies your world. She now exists in the same mythic era as Jost without retcon strains. Everything becomes part of the same moral catastrophe rather than isolated legends. Explains her longevity and isolation. Pre-flood beings are not meant to survive the reset. Her continued existence feels transgressive, tragic, and dangerous. Frames her curse as a cosmic cleanup. She isn't just punished, she's left behind when the world is wiped clean. That's potent. Again, not doing that. A mortal woman changed by watchers. This is the right call. This is honestly better than making her mother a watcher. Why this works narratively. It removes divine immunity. It centers consent, seduction, and corruption. Aligns with Arista's inherited guilt. I am what shouldn't exist. It mirrors your theme of self-created suffering, systematic cruelty. In Enochian tradition, human women were altered by proximity to the Watchers. Their children were monstrous not because of malice, but because knowledge reshaped flesh. Punishment fell disproportionately on the vulnerable. Turning a woman into a mermaid as consequence rather than choice is mythically correct and emotionally devastating. Father, keep him ambiguous but ancient. Okay. My father ruled the waters long before men counted days. He had no throne in heaven, only currents and tides. Readers, feel inky without you saying inky. And shorter word count. Transformation punishment. Harissa's mother is seduced by watchers, survives, is corrected by divine decree, becomes something other, neither human nor forgiven. Mermaids, then, are living evidence of pre-flood corruption, too altered to be drowned, too tainted to be saved. This makes Arista's second-generation consequence, a reminder that the flood failed to erase everything. I don't include this in text without bloating word count. Here's a tight, publishable version Arista could say. My mother was human. That's the cruelest part. She was loved by something that never should have touched her. When the watchers fell, the women they left behind were not forgiven. They were corrected. The sea took her, changed her. And when she bore me, I inherited what she was punished for. I was born before... Okay. Ooh. I inherited what she was punished for. I like that. Stitch all of that, pop that in, see if that works. Okay. I am the firstborn of a sea king. Let's get rid of C. Many called him a god. He never claimed the name. Made such claims. I am the firstborn of a king. My father ruled the waters long before men counted days. He had no throne in heaven, only currents and tides. Many called him a god. He never made such claims. My mother was human. Once. My mother was human once. That's the cruelest part. She was loved by something that never should have touched her. When the watchers fell, the women they left behind were not forgiven. They were corrected. The sea took her, changed her, and when she bore me, I inherited what she was punished for. Oh, that fucking sings. That works. Thematic payoff, why this matters. The choice reinforces your core themes. Punishment outlives the crime. Love creates monsters only because power fears it. Survivors carry guilt they didn't earn. Arista isn't cursed because she's evil. She's cursed because systems don't know how to unmake mistakes gently. That's very much in line with Jost's worldview. Final editorial note, important. You are doing something rare and very publishable here. Biblical myth without sermonizing, romance without sentimentality, monsters without moral simplification. Do not over-explain this in Chapter 11. Let it surface in broken confession, not lore. If you want, next we can compress her origin into a single paragraph, decide whether her mother is alive, dead, or sealed, tie the flood explicitly to why Arista fears abandonment. Flood wouldn't have happened yet. This story, Garrett's story, takes place in the days of Noah. Like Noah would be alive in this period, starting the early work on his boat. Okay. I am the firstborn of a king. Pre-flood aberration, living proof that the world is already broken, a reason why the flood is coming. Yeah. Yes. Jost is a Nephilim. I don't even need to bring him up, but good, then everything locks into place. Thematically, mythologically, and philosophically, if Jost is a Nephilim, the days of Noah become not just a setting, but the moral fault line of your entire world. Yeah. Here's how to treat the choice. What it means for Jost to be Nephilim in your story. In the Enoch tradition, Nephilim are not just giants. They are living contradictions, evidence that boundaries are broken, proof that the world cannot continue as is. So Jost isn't evil, he's just unsustainable. Yes. This aligns perfectly with his fear of his own power, his belief that doing nothing keeps the world safe. Yeah. His suspicion of justice, pride, and imposed order. Yes. His instinct to guide without ruling, obstruct without destroying. Yes. He already acts like someone who knows judgment is justified, and that terrifies him. Jost and Arista are parallel pre-flood errors. Yes. This is the big, elegant symmetry you've accidentally created. Sure, say it's an accident. Product of Watcher rebellion, product of Watcher consequences, walks the land, bound to water, afraid of acting, afraid of loving, fears of destroying the world, fears of the reason it must be destroyed. Yeah. These are both reasons for the flood is coming in different ways. Jost is delaying action out of mercy. Arista is hiding for containment. Love between such beings, defiance of divine cleanup. No wonder it feels dangerous. Yeah, Jost would not see Arista as a monster. He would see her as a mirror of his own postponed execution. Yep. Someone spared for now. Someone who believes love might damn the world further. Yep. Which means if Jost ever speaks about love, it won't be romantic. It will be existential. Yep. You might believe love delays judgment, mercy increases, subtle textual, keep you, without naming the film or watchers, you can drop lines like, there are beings this world cannot carry forever. Yeah. Yeah. No. No. Yep. Ooh, I do like that. Okay. Jost is not in this story, but you have nailed him in this description, and yes, he does know Noah calls him a rat. Remember, yeah, I'm getting way off track on this. Jillian is Methuselah's granddaughter. Okay, I gotta get back to this. Got way off track with that. But like I said, that's my magnum opus. That's the story I really do want to be telling, but it gets way too long. Good, and thank you for the correction that actually makes this cleaner, not messier. You're doing something very rare and very right here. You're letting mythology exist as a shared gravity well, not a crossover clutter. Let me recalibrate cleanly what you've confirmed and then give you actionable guidance for this story. Garrett and Arista, while honoring Jost, Jillian, Methuselah, and Noah as part of the same world. Jost not appearing here is a correct choice. Keeping Jost off stage in Garrett's story is a strength. Yeah. Jost carries cosmic inevitability. Garrett carries human immediacy. Arista sits exactly between them. Yes, if Jost appeared, he would dominate the philosophical space. Absolutely. Instead, his absence lets Garrett do something Jost rarely can: choose without prophecy, breaking down or breathing down his neck. Yep, that contrast will matter later. Jost calling Noah a brat is thematically perfect. That one detail tells us everything. Noah is young, earnest, and obedient. He believes in salvation through construction. He hasn't yet learned about the cost of survival. Jost calling him a brat implies Jost has already seen the end. Jost sees the flood as necessary but obscene. Jost doesn't resent Noah. He resents the simplicity of Noah's role. Yep. This reinforces that Jost delays action. Noah accelerates obedience. Garrett exists in the blind spot between them. Methuselah, longest lived man. Jillian, inheritor of endurance without resolution. That means Jillian represents the last chance for wisdom to mature. Yep. Jost sees her as a risk because she might actually change something. Yep. Methuselah's worldview, closed borders, no new philosophy is a reaction to Watcher-era contamination. Yep. So the world's moral positions are: Noah preserves the worthy. Methuselah, contain and restrict. Jost, delay and obstruct. Garrett, choose anyway. Yeah, Garrett is my most human character. Arista, hide and endure. That's a complete moral spectrum. Do not name him. Names drag lore. Arista, my father ruled the deep places long before man charted the water. Got that. Mother, a human woman touched by Watcher corruption. Your instinct is perfect here. She was seduced by a Watcher, changed by proximity. Knowledge changes flesh. My mother was a human once. She loved something she was never meant to touch, and the sea answered, yeah. Watcher involved in transformation, guilt without villainy. There are things born before judgment finishes deciding what to do with them. Okay. Back to it. What am I on? Page 5 of 9. All right. I am the firstborn of a king. My father ruled the waters long before men counted days. He had no throne in heaven, only currents and tides. Many called him a god. He never made such claims. My mother was human, once. That's the cruelest part. That's a little bit of purple prose. We'll just get rid of that. It's the cruelest part. My mother was human once. She was loved by something that never should have touched her. When the watchers fell, the women they left behind were not forgiven. They were corrected. The sea took her, changed her. And when she bore me, I inherited what she was punished for. She paused, exhaling through sharp, trembling teeth. Okay, and then this line no longer works because I got rid of everything preceding it, so there are things born before judgment finishes deciding what to do with them. I was difficult, she said, her tone raw, petty, spoiled, proud. I took what I wanted and punished anyone who denied me even a fraction of the glory I thought I deserved. Even my own siblings. That sentence doesn't work. Even my own siblings as its own sentence. I wanted the entire world to recognize me, to fear me, to adore me. I craved attention and love. No, worship. Any proof that I was worth more than anyone else. Her voice cracked. Is it any wonder that they came to despise me, to fear what I would become once the crown was mine? Okay. How can I clean this up now? How to make this flow. She paused, exhaling through sharp, trembling teeth. Well, that doesn't work. She paused. This is already strong. What you're feeling isn't that it's bad, it's that it's dense. Right now, several ideas that deserve space are competing inside the same sentences and paragraphs. Your goals for cleanup should be one idea per paragraph. Let emotion, not explanation, carry transitions. Replace lists with escalations. Cut self-commentary that repeats what the reader already feels. Below, I'll give you principle-based diagnosis. Cleaned, flowing revision that stays very close to your words, why each change works so you can apply it elsewhere. Core issues, teachable, not nitpicks. Your open lineage paragraph is doing too much at once. Yeah, it introduces father, godhood denial, mother, watchers, punishment, inheritance, moral thesis line. That's 6 beats, you want 3. You often say the same thing in escalating synonyms. Petty, spoiled, proud, entitlement, talents, birthright, attention, love, no, worship. Individually good, together they slow momentum, strong lines buried inside long paragraphs. You have publishable sentences that are getting swallowed by context. Example, there are things born before judgment finishes deciding what to do with them. That should land, not pass by. A smooth, flowing revision close to your voice. I'm not rewriting your scene, I'm polishing it. Let's see. I am the firstborn of a king. My father ruled the waters long before men counted days. He had no throne in heaven, only currents and tides. Many called him a god, he never did. She drew a slow breath. My mother was human once. She loved something that never should have touched her. When the watchers fell, the women they left behind were not forgiven, they were corrected. Her voice tightened. The sea took her, changed her, and when she bore me, I inherited what she was punished for. She paused, exhaling through sharp, trembling teeth. There are things born before judgment finishes deciding what to do with them. Her gaze lowered. I was difficult, she said, petty, spoiled, proud. I took what I wanted and punished anyone who denied me, even a fraction of it, even my own siblings. Yeah, it kind of turns it into a poem, which I like. Sea took her, changed her. She paused, exhaling through sharp, trembling teeth. There are things born before judgment finishes deciding what to do with them. Her gaze lowered. I was difficult, she said, petty, spoiled, proud. I took what I wanted and punished anyone who denied me, even a fraction of it, even my own siblings. Her mouth twisted. I lorded my birthright over them, my power, my future. My father tried to restrain me, to correct me, but it only made me worse. A bitter breath escaped her. I would sink ships for sport, she admitted, and laugh at the wreckage. Silence pressed in. I wanted the world to see me, she continued, to fear me, to adore me. I didn't want love. Her voice cracked. I wanted worship. She swallowed. Is there any wonder they came to despise me, to fear what I would become once the crown was mine? Her eyes dimmed. My siblings, especially my elder brother, hated me. He grew jealous, resentful, and he was not alone. He gathered allies among the witches of the kingdom, and other people I had scorned. They were clever, wise, ancient. Regret softened her voice. I feel like this is giving me too many breaks, but I like what it's doing to the actual dialogue. Sea maidens I might have learned from, if I'd been capable of humility. She laughed once hollow. They banished me, bound me to this island that follows the moon's path forever, unless, her breath hitched, unless true love breaks the curse. The sound she made afterward wasn't quite a laugh. Can you imagine? Not simply cast out, but condemned to this impossible condition. Everything taken from me because of what I might become. Her shoulders sagged. I fought it, I screamed, I raged, and the sea only answered with more fury. She looked away. I tried to escape 1,000 times. Each time I returned. And since the island never stays still, even if I were free, her voice fell to a whisper. I doubt I would ever find my way home. A long silence followed. Then quietly, I am Arista, daughter of a king but no princess. I am the monster sailors fear. I am the sea witch. Her voice softened almost nothing. The lonely. I like that it kind of turns it into poetry. Like, it should be a poem, not an exposition, not dense paragraphs. C, I've got 471 words out of 3,039 selected. So what happens if I plug this in? I lose 11 words. Let's see. I am the firstborn of a king. My father ruled the waters long before men counted days. He had no throne in heaven, only currents and tides. Many called him a god. He never made such claims. Though he never made such claims. My mother was human once. She was loved by something that never should have touched her. When the watchers fell, the women they left behind were not forgiven, they were corrected. The sea took her, changed her. And when she bore me, I inherited what she was punished for. She paused, exhaling through sharp, trembling teeth. She paused and released a long, pained exhale. Long, pained breath. I am a thing born before judgment. Decided what to do with them. I was difficult, she said, her tone raw. I was difficult, she said, her tone... What does that mean if your tone is raw? I was difficult, she said, her tone... weakly. Petty, spoiled, proud. I took what I wanted and punished anyone who denied me even a fraction of the glory I thought I deserved. What I desired. Even my own siblings. I lorded my entitlement, my talents, my birthright over them. My father tried to restrain me, to admonish my behavior, but that only made me act out more. only made me defiant. I would sink ships for fun, she admitted bitterly, and laugh at the wreckage. I wanted the entire world to recognize me, to fear me, to adore me. I craved attention and love. No, worship. Any proof that I was worth more than anyone else. Her voice cracked. Is it any wonder they came to despise me, to fear what I would become once the crown was mine? My siblings, especially the eldest of my brothers, the second-born, hated me. He grew jealous, resentful, and he was not alone. I don't like sentences that start with "and." Yeah. She swallowed, eyes dimming. She sounded tired as she went on. As she continued, he gathered allies among the witches of the kingdom. Nephilim. Another group I had scorned with my arrogance. They were clever, wise, ancient. Beings I might have learned from if I'd had the humility. They banished me, she whispered, bound me to this accursed island that follows the path of the moon for all time, unless, she shuddered, a broken sob echoing through the cavern, unless true love found me and broke the spell. She laughed once, hollow and cruel to herself. Can you imagine? Not simply banished, but condemned to an impossible condition. They took everything because of what I might become. I was furious, I screamed, I fought, but that only ever made the sea angrier. I tried to escape 1,000 times, but each time I ended up back here, and since the island is always moving, even if I was free, I doubt I would ever find my way home. A long silence followed, then quietly she said, I am Arista, daughter of a king but no princess. I am the monster of the deep that sailors fear. I am the sea witch. Her voice fell to a wounded whisper, the lonely. I don't know how long I've been here anymore, Arista whispered. How many moons, how many years, or decades? Time doesn't move the same way when you're cursed, it just swallows you. Her tentacles rose around her like a shield. Ships wander into my waters all the time. Some get caught in the currents and sink. Sailors drown. Others wash up here, coughing salt and terror, only to call me a monster before they even see my face. When they see me, her voice trembled with something too old to be anger. Bitterness. They think I hunt them. I don't. I just stay here, and the world comes to me. A tentacle swept through a pile of gold, scattering it with a hollow clatter. I don't feel like I need that line at all. And we're under 3,000 words with that. Thank God. I've tried love, she said, so softly it felt stolen from her. More than once, more than I want to admit. But it always ends the same. Each one becomes part of my tragedy. Another story trapped in these walls, another memory I can't escape. Tentacles rose around her like a shield. Ships wander into my waters all the time. Some get caught in the currents and sink. Get caught in the currents and sink. Sailors drown. Others wash up here. Or wash up here, coughing salt and terror. Only to call me monster when they see me. Her voice trembled with bitterness. They think I hunt them. I don't. I just stay here. The world comes to me. I've tried love, she said, so softly it felt stolen from her. So sadly it felt stolen from her more than once, more than I want to admit. More times than I want to admit. But it always ends the same. Each one becomes part of my tragedy. Another story trapped in these walls. She drew a shaky breath. So many tried to kill me outright. Others, her voice lowered, tight with remembered disgust. Others thought a drunken castaway. Many tried to kill me outright. Others, her voice lowered, tight with remembered disgust. Others thought they could take advantage of me as if I were some lonely, stupid creature begging for affection. Some came for the treasure, thinking they could steal from this wreckage of a cave, this grave. It's 4:23. Bitter laugh scraped her throat. Most of them drowned before ever reaching the entrance. I never understood that this place isn't a lair, she paused. It's a prison. Her eyes glowed faintly in the shadows as she gestured at the heaps of gold and bone and broken armor. This collection, she faltered, her voice cracking, isn't wealth, it isn't power, it's everything I've ever lost, everything I've ever ruined, every reminder that I was never meant to be loved. Fuck. That strikes, that's good. Maybe you went about it wrong. Garrett spoke before he thought. Love isn't something you just fall into. It isn't some magic spell. Anything instant and passionate is usually pretty temporary and fades fast with new passing interest. Love, true love, takes time to grow and develop. Like writing a novella. Maybe you... Garrett spoke before he thought. Love isn't something you just fall into. It isn't some magic spell. Let's get rid of pretty. It's usually temporary. Each new passing interest. Love, true love, takes time to grow and develop. Her silhouette flinched. He continued, voice gentle but unwavering. You say you were proud, spoiled, selfish. Maybe you were, but pride doesn't grow in a vacuum. You spent your whole life hearing you were destined for greatness. How else were you supposed to act? You grew up being praised for your power. That's not your fault. Yeah, he's too much of a therapist here. As he rose, as he stood, say you were proud, spoiled, selfish. Maybe you were. You spent your whole life hearing you were destined for greatness. But how else were you supposed to act? You grew up being praised for your power. That's not your fault. You say you were proud, spoiled, selfish. Maybe you were. You spent your whole life hearing you were destined for greatness. How else were you supposed to act? Yeah, this is kind of saccharine. Ugh, I want to get this done. It's 4:29. Okay. Damn it. I want to finish this, but I feel like I need to take a break. Yeah, how long have I been at this? A little over 2 hours. And I look like I've been at it over a little 2 hours. Jeez. Okay. All right. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to check in with the wife and see if there's any chance that I actually get to see her tonight. My own personal mermaid. So thank you, Drowning Devil 12. I appreciate you commenting and stopping in a little bit, reminding me I am being watched, so I gotta look busy. Anyone else who's watching, I do appreciate you. I will be back probably tonight at some point to try and put the kibosh on this chapter so I'm not dragging it into another day. Alright, peace out.